the future assistant professors, welcome back to English by Pooja Singh. Today I am going to tell you about the modern age. We have already discussed about the modern age, and today we are going to complete the entire works, important novelists, important dramatists, important poets, they're important, all the poems of modern age. As we have already completed modern age, if you haven't watched that video, please watch that video, because that is very important, because until unless you are not knowing the background of any age, it's very difficult to know its literary critics, their works, because that's very important. So please, I will just suggest you go and watch that modern age historical background completely, and then after watching that video you will understand this video completely, because everything in English literature is interconnected. So if you haven't watched that, please go and watch that, and then you start from here and your modern age will be completed. So without any delay, let's get started. In the age of delusion, detachment, fragmentation, alienation, shell shock, war, no love, hate, if love is there, materialism is there. So you will be getting a lot of things in this video, so stay tuned till the end. So without any delay, let's get started. So the very first modern age writers we are going to talk about is Joseph Conrad. He is very important. Why? Because we have seen over decades like PYQ, UGC NET favorite. He is UGC NET favorite, and every time you will see his work in the match of the following, in the settings, in the name, in the assertion, reason, question, in the character. So this is very important, that you have to understand why he is important. Okay, so he was a Polish born English novelist who explored all moral conflict, darkness of the human soul. And why these are important things, because when you understand the mindset, when you understand the mindset of the writer, you understand that what that major novelist is trying to say. So he says a very good statement, and it's very famous: French is the only modern language used to write good literature. Okay, so this is very important thing, that most of his main character dies in the end. So this is very important to notice that. Now we are going to deal with all the works, and I will be telling which work you have to deal with and read the summary. Summaries are available online, they are available on Wikipedia. You can read summary. So I will tell you the important one जिसमें आपको summaries पढ़ना है. So please, आप समरीज खुद से पढ़ोगे तो आपको ज़्यादा एनालाइज होगा. आई विल टेल यू द इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग. दिस इज़ वेरी बहुत समझदारी वाला समझना है. आई कैन शो यू द रोड मैप. रोड पर आपको ही चलना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. सो द वेरी फर्स्ट वर्क इज़ लॉर्ड जिम. It is written in 1900, and I have written this in chronology so that it will make you understand that, and according to the. So this is a novel exploring themes of honor, guilt, and redemption. What happens? This was published in. Please do make your own notes. I will be telling you so many things that it's not written in this, but I'll be telling you so many things. So please sit with your copy and pen and write it down. Okay. So if you talk about the Lord Jim, it was published in 1900, and it was published in which? It was published in the Blackwoods magazine. Okay, this is important. Okay, so in this, if you talk about, there is a sailor dreams of being a hero, but never showed, and there is a ship name called Patna, and Jim was so coward that he leaves the passenger, like there was 800 passenger that goes on, and the sick ship did not sink. Okay, so he was striped off by the officers, and we got to know that this was the thing. So basically it talks about that it is a psychological fiction. Okay, you have to read this summary. So I'll be ticking it on, so though you understand that जिसमें टिक किया हुआ है उसमें आपको समरी पढ़ना है, और आई विल राइट एस फॉर समरी. ओके, नाउ वी मूव टू नॉस्ट्रोमो. इट इज़ अ कॉम्प्लेक्स पॉलिटिकल नोवेल दैट सेट्स इन साउथ अमेरिकन कंट्री. The Secret Agent, it is published in 1997, a dark satire about anarchism, espionage, and terrorism in London. So this was the thing that if you'll see, all the complex ideas are revolving out. Okay. Then under Western eyes, again, it tells a story about a Russian police agent and a young revolutionary, and these are the things that you just have to read the summary of Lord Jim. Okay, then Chance 1914, a novel that deals with the themes of mistaken identity and coincidences. You have to learn the themes also, because sometimes it asks about the themes. Okay, then The Arrow of Gold, a novel with elements of adventure and romance. Then Almayer's Folly, it was the Conrad's first novel based on his time in the Dutch East Indies. Okay, it is a novellas and short stories. So it is one of the most famous one also. Okay, then you have to read the summary of Heart of Darkness, because it is very important and a lot of question has been asked in the UGC NET. So it's published in 1912. It is a novella that's set in the Congo, that is a profound critique of colonialism. So you have to read about Heart of Darkness. Okay, so you have to remember Heart of Darkness. The very first thing is that narrator in this, narrator remains unnamed, no name of narrator. Okay, then there is a second narrator, first narrator, then the second narrator names Charles Marlowe. Okay, then he was a protagonist. He's basically a protagonist, and he is a ivory merchant, and he go and get ivory from the Congo. And there is important person Kurds. He was a British officer, tended, and he was treated as a king, as the god by African people. Okay, so in this, if you talk about, it talks about the colonialism, that what colonialism is doing to Africa, and basically what is happening, brutal treatment of African by colonizers. Then everything will be seen under the impact of colonization. Okay, so this thing you have to keep in mind, and you have to read the summary of it. Then Typhoon, it was published in 1902, a short novel about a ship's crew navigating a violent storm at sea. Then Tales of Unrest, it is a collection of short story that includes The Lagoon, The Idiots, The Return. So these are very important thing that you have to understand. You have basically, we did 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11. So we have done 11 works of Joseph Conrad, and I told you which are the most important works. So basically you have to understand, you have to read the summary of Lord Jim and the names of all the works. Okay, then this Heart of Darkness is one of the most frequently asked question that has appeared in net 2014, 17, 20, and it has been appeared like more and more. Okay, now the next which we are dealing with, George Orwell. Real name was Eric Arthur Blair. If you talk about his themes, he deals with the totalitarianism, socialism, freedom, political corruption. Okay, so if you understand the themes, it will be very easy for you to understand the plots of their novel. Okay, so major works 1984, you have to read the summary. A lot of question has been asked in UGC net. His dystopian, it is a dystopian masterpiece. There is called Utopia, that is called The Ideal State, and there is called Dystopian, a futuristic devastation state. Okay, so it was published in 1949, depicts a totalitarian future, everything bad, destroying. Okay, then there is an Animal Farm, it is a political fable published in 1945, and it satirizes the Russian revolution. What is a fable? Animal Farm, that it will tell you the story through the animals, but it talks about the real person, about the real human man. Then Burmese Days, it is a novel inspired by his experience as a colonial police officer in Burma. So again, this is important. You have to read the summary of it. Then Keep the Epidestra Flying. It is a satirical novel about a bookseller who rebels against the values of a commercial society. And Coming Up for Air, it is Orwell's final novel which explores the change in a man's hometown. See, it might look very disgusting, like oh my god, she is just reading, but आपको ये भी कोई नहीं बताने वाला है कि आपको क्या पढ़ना है क्या नहीं पढ़ना है. इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट यू टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आपको क्या नहीं पढ़ना है और क्या ज़्यादा पढ़ना है. ठीक है, यू कैन नॉट मेमोराइज 5000 प्लस राइटर एंड देयर works that is in lakhs. You cannot memorize all of it. So that is why this is for best for revision. Then A Clergyman's Daughter, a novel that follows the life of a clergyman's daughter who abandons her life, and this is the most important one, okay? Then Down and Out in Paris, London, an autobiographical account of his time living in poverty. Then the next book, if you're talking about The Road to Wigan Pier, this is a non-fiction book that documents his investigation, okay? And into the lives of the working class in the northern England. Homage to Catalonia, it is a memoir, his experience fighting in the Spanish Civil War. So you can see the theme socialism, freedom, political corruption, and in all the works you can see his work. And Shooting an Elephant is, you have to read the summary of it, is very important. It is a famous essay reflecting on imperialism and the nature of power. So again, it is very, very important. You have to understand this thing, okay? Then Animal Farm, that I have already talked about, it is a political allegory against Stalinism. And 1984, it is a dystopian novel that is a surveillance and the loss of freedom. So you have to remember, don't get confused between these, okay? So and if we see an examination, it is often quoted, all animals are equal but some are more equal than others. That is that came in UGC NET examination. So again, it is very, very important. Now if you talk about the next important novelist, it's James Joyce, born in 1882 and died in 1941. If you talk about he was an Irish novelist, and Bloomsday, you might have heard of Bloomsday. Bloomsday was celebrated after Joyce's work Ulysses, and the character Leopard Bloom. So he was the forerunner of the stream of consciousness. These are the very important thing that I'm writing and I'm telling you, please make sure you're writing it. And he had the influence of Dublin that can be seen in all his work. Okay, so psychological realism, stream of consciousness, and inner life of characters, you will be seeing they are talking, they are monologuing, they are talking to themselves, okay? So this is very important that you have to understand, okay? Then the very first and most famous novel of James Joyce is Ulysses. You have to read the summary of it. It is Joyce's most famous novel. It chronicles a single day in Dublin and uses a complex network of symbolic parallels famously based on Homer's Odysseus. So this is very, very important. And if you talk about the setting of it, I'll just take a page. If you talk about, this is important, that is why I'm explaining in detail. If you talk about the setting, it is Dublin, Ireland, okay? And it it is a demonstration and summation of entire movement. It talks about the life of Leopold Bloom. Then if you talk about which date it's talking about, it's talk about 16th June 1904, and it just talks about a single day of life. So it is an irony, and it talks about the parallel between the Ulysses and Leopard, okay? So you have to understand these all things. These are very, very important, and it is a very thick book, and it has been taken from where? It has been taken from the Greek Homer's Odyssey, and it was from 18 episodes. So I think this is the most important thing that you have to write. You should write in your copy so that you will understand, because these are the things that a lot of question has been asked, that Leopold makes appearance in which the novel lectures to step on the life. Then the Stephen Dedalus is a character associated in which work. So these are the things that you have to understand it, okay? Then the next work is Vengeance Wake, and it's known for the experimental language and the complex structure, and famously it includes like 100-letter construction representing the sound and the fall of Adam and Eve, okay? Then Dubliners, a collection of 15 short stories depicting what? Depicting the early 20s, and we just discussed that you can see the experience life of Dublin with a naturalistic style. So again, it is a important one, okay? Then A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, it is a semi-autobiographical novel that follows the intellect and the religious development of what? Stephen Dedalus, and this was a PYQ, okay? If we talk about the other notable works of James Joyce, it is Exiles, a 1918 play that explores the themes of what? Love, trust, intellectual freedom. Then Chamber Music, a collection poem that is considered a minor work compared to his prose but notable as a foundation for his career. Then Stephen Hero, an early unfinished manuscript version of the portrait of the artist as a young man. Then The Dead, one of the most famous stories from the Dubliner collection, often studied as standalone work. So if you see, Ulysses is the most experimental text, and it has been appeared in 2016, 21, and a lot of times. Okay. Very important personality, Virginia Woolf. You can see she is one of the favorite of UGC NET PYQs, a lot of PYQs we have seen in June 2025 also. So she was a leading feminist and modernist novelist. She used the technique of stream of consciousness and interior monologue. And if you know the name of husband, it was Leonard Woolf. He was husband. They both started the press Hogarth Press, and she described like novel as not what you see but the emotions you feel. It is the words of Virginia Woolf. So, the very first and most important work is Mrs. Dalloway's. It is a stream of consciousness novel following a day in the life of a London socialite. They basically talked about Clarissa. They talk about Clarissa Dalloway, and she's a 50 years middle aged, and she's doing some party preparation, and you will see all the chaos is happening in this party. Okay, to the lighthouse, no doubt very important. A lot of question has been asked in this from. In this explores the Ramsay family during the summer vacation on the Isle of Skye, and in this there are three parts: windows, time passes, and lighthouse. And when it laps, it talks about 10 years of gap. Okay, so story centers around Mr. and Mrs. Ramsay at Center House, and they have a children, and they talk about how they are going to spend their life. And in this 10 years, Mrs. Ramsay died, and they talks about a painting, and the painting was done by Lily Briscoe. Okay, so these are the important, I'm telling you the important thing. Okay, then Orlando, a biography, a fantastical biographical novel about a poet who lives for centuries and changes gender. So can you see now in 2025 we are seeing the gender change and everything, but Virginia Woolf talked about this in 1928. Okay, then The Waves, a highly experimental novel featuring six characters with the inner monologues. Then Jacob's Room, a novel that while focusing on Jacob exploring his life and impact on others. So you will be seeing a lot of feminism coming out, a lot of statements coming out. So these are very, very important. You cannot miss any work of it. When between the acts, Woolf's final novel set during a village pageant on the eve of World War II. As I told you that in the modern age we are going to deal with the cell shock, World War, and all the bad things, fragmentation. Then the voyage out, original title was Mellibrosia. Original title was Mellibrosia. Okay, and her first novel published posthumously and charting the journey of a young woman on a trip to South America. Okay, you don't have to go in detail with it. The Years, a novel that follows the lives of the Partiger family across several decades. Sometimes they ask about the years and they will give the match the following with which family. Okay, if you talk about the top essays and other works, A Room of One's Own to June 2025, a lot of question was from there. The statement, a seminal feminist essay arguing the need for women to have financial independence and the personal space to write. Do you agree that being in 21st century women, still a lot of women are struggling to be financial independent? If you do agree, do let me know in the comment section what are your views on it. Okay, and Three Guineas, it is a feminist essays that draws parallels between the oppression of the women and the causes of the wars. Again, a very important one. You have to read the summary of it. Okay, then A Writer's Diary, a collection of entries up from her private diaries offering insight into her thoughts, writing, and life. Then A Haunted House and the Other Short Story. It is a posthumous collection of short stories. That means after she died, then this work was published. Again, a famous line, a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction. Very important line. Okay. Then, if we talk about the next novelist, T.H. Lawrence, one of my favorite. He was born in 1885 and died in 1930. If we talk about his themes, he generally talks about the human sexuality, industrialization versus nature, and the emotional health. Okay, so the very famous work is Sons and Lovers. It was a semi-autobiographical novel exploring the complex relationship with a working class family, and basically it was Oedipus complex, like mother and son in love relation, and how it bothered son, and that's Paul Morale could not have any relationship with his girlfriend. So that was the scene is shown in this novel. Then A Woman in Love, again important one. It is a sequel to The Rainbow, focusing on the lives and the relationship of two sisters, their husbands. Then there is a work Lady Chatterley's Lover. It was a controversial novel that examine these are all question has been appeared in June 2025. June 2025, and many times, a lot of time, like 50 plus times it has been asked. Okay, a controversial novel that examines class and gender through the relationship between a married astrocat and the gamekeeper. If you are free and you have enough time, you can watch movie of Lady Chatterley's Lover. It is free on YouTube. You can see that, and it was banned. It was banned due to obscene words, obscene scenes, and later it was again made to watch that. Then The Rainbow, a precursor to Women in Love, tracing the lives of three generations to the Brangin family. Again, this was a question from June 2025. Okay, so can you see it is just asking the direct thing, direct themes, direct relationship, and I am telling you the same thing. Then The Persian Officer and the Other Stories, a collection of short stories, and what it explores the theme of human nature, how social dynamics change. Okay, and these are the work that you just have to learn the names. The White Peacock, it is Lawrence's first novel, because UGC always asks what is first and what is last. Okay, which was published in 1911, and you just have to learn the name Birds, Beasts and Flowers. Why? It is a poem known for vivid imagery and exploration of nature. And then The Rocking Horse Winner, it is a short story collection. Then Kangaroo, it was set in Australia, that explores the themes of politics and relationship. Then The Plum Serpent, it is a novel that's set in, you just have to be very particular about the settings. Okay, settings and themes. Okay, and deal with the themes of religion, politics and identity. So if you talk about Sons and Lovers, it often appears in questions on Freudian elements, so it has the interconnection for it. Okay, then the next novelist is the Aldous Huxley, 1894 to 1963. If you talk about his theme, science versus spirituality, again he was writing in dystopia. And we talk about the major work, Brave New World is very famous, and you have to read the summary of it. It is a dystopian novel set in the world state, often cited as most famous work, and PYQ, a lot of PYQs from here. Okay, point counterpoint, you just have to read the name and that's all. You can take a screenshot of it, because generally his works comes in match the following, and the works and the writer. So point counterpoint, Island, it was his final novel, viewed as utopian counterpoint to the Brave New World. So it can be the new question, that what was the work that was written in the Brave New World as a counterpart. Then the Doors of Perspection, then the Perennial Philosophy, it was a religion and philosophy concept that found across culture and tradition. Then the Eyeless in Gaza, a novel that delves into intellectual moral question that following spiritual crisis. Okay, then Ape and Essence, a satirical novel that serves as a critic of nuclear conflict, the potential for mutual destruction. Chrome Yellow, then The Brave New World Revisited, it was written in 1958. You have to remember that. A non-fiction follow-up to his famous novel discussing its themes in the context of the mid-century society. So you have to study a lot. If you think that by watching just a once or remembering, it is not easy. It is not easy. And there is no shortcuts. You have to study. There is no shortcut. Okay. The Devils of London, a work of historical nonfiction that blends history, psychology, and religion to explore the real events of the 17th century. So, Brave New World palettes 1894 in the dystopian themes. Okay. Next, if you talk about the E.M. Forster, so he was born in 1879 and died in 1970. If you talk about his themes, he was actually he was from Italy. Okay, we talk about his themes: class, human connection, liberal humanism. Okay, there was no something like that. If you talk about his his real name was Henry Morgan. How many of you are knowing this real name? Okay. His very famous work, A Passage to India. We were in graduation and we read it. It was very great. And it was set in the backdrop of the what? British Raj. And you will be talking all about how his experience was in the India. And it was considered as a masterpiece, one of his famous work. Okay, and if you talk about the city, it is the Chandrapura city. Then if you talk about the Howard Sand, it is another his most famous novel, known for the quote only connect. Why? Because it talks about the families, rich and poor. Then there is so many families, different families, middle class families, girls, boys, poor family, like that. Okay, then a room with a view again is a again its setting is in Italy, and it is widely considered one of his best work by because it has been adapted into several popular films. Okay, then if you talk about Morris, it is written in the posthumously novel about a gay man in Edwardian England. So you can and this also was in seen in PYQ. Then Where Angel Fred to Tread, an early novel that is highly regarded, The Longest Journey, The Machine That Stops, and other stories. This collection includes the influential short stories The Machine Stops. Then the aspects of the novel, it is a series of lectures that became the significant works of the literary criticism. Okay, and the Heel of Devi, it is a non-fiction work based on his time in India. Then The Eternal Moment, a collection of short story, A Passage of India was asked in so many years. Okay. The next novelist is H.G. Wells. He was called as the father of science. And if you talk about his works, major works is The Time Machine. It was never asked in detail. You just have to learn the name of it. The Time Machine, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds. You can take a screenshot and you can read it. The Islands of Dr. Moreau, The First Man in the Moon, The Food of the Gods, The History of Mr. Polly, The War in the Air, and The Outline of the History, and The World Sets Free. So it is a novel that features the first fictional depiction of the nuclear bomb and its devastating effects. So if you look out, it is all about science, evaluation, morality, and technologically misuse. The last novelist of this modern age, and then we'll be dealing with the poets and the dramatist in the separate video. Okay, otherwise this video will be so long. So if you talk about Graham Greene, he was known for his Catholic novels, moral conflicts, and politics. Okay, so you have to understand why he was it. So if you look out his work, you have to read the summary of The Power and the Glory. It is a novel set in Mexico during the persecution of the church, focusing on the fugitive priest. Okay, then The Brighton Rock. It is a crime novel about a young gangster struggling with the morality and the consequences of his action. You have to read the summary of it. Okay, in Heart of the Matter, again, it is very famous. It is a story about a British colonial officer in West Africa who becomes entangled in the moral and spiritual crisis. Then The End of the Affair. It talks about the love, fate, obsession, often considered as one of his personal works. Then Quite American, One Man in Havana. Then The Comedians, a political novel set, Hayati during the Papa Dog Duvalier. It is important, you just have to know the themes and read the summary, which I'm writing as against that. Then Istanbul Train, it is also known as the Orient Express. It was the Greene's first major success, following a group of diverse travelers on the train journey. Okay, then The Third Man and The Travels with My Aunt. So A Travels with My Aunt, it is a more comedic and adventurous novel that tells the story of a retired bank manager who swept into the eccentric world of his aunt. So in this video we have discussed about the novelist of modern age. So the very first thing what you have to do, you have to see the video of modern age video. What is modern age history? You have to watch the modern age history. Okay, and then the major novelist and their work. So we in this video we dealt with Joseph Conrad, then we dealt with the George Orwell, then James Joyce, then Virginia Woolf, then D.H. Lawrence, then Aldous Huxley, then E.M. Forster, H.G. Wells, Graham Greene. So in the next video, we will be talking about the major dramatist of the modern age, and then major poets of modern age. Okay, that's it for today. If you complete this entire work, their summary, their characters, you are going to get a lot of marks from this particular section, because this is the most repeated in the UGC NET section. So make sure you complete this entire modern age, watch it, read the summary, get to know where you are lacking, what you are not knowing. So yes, do let me know in the comment section which dramatist, which novelist, which poet you like the most and why. Okay, and yes, if you found this video helpful, do not forget to like, share with your friends, and do subscribe for more such video. We have already completed the literary criticism, literary theory, and we are going to soon complete British literature. We are in modern age, and the next video will be the postmodern age. So if you want the video postmodern age, do let me in the comment section that yes ma'am, we want postmodernism age complete history plus their writers and everything. So till then, keep learning, keep shining.